Okay, let's talk about sleep well. This is the first pillar of our recovery program. Now, we start with sleep well because it is foundational. It's really important to sleep right. And so, according to great research, humans need somewhere between 7.5 and 8 hours of sleep on average. So that means most of us, independent of the work that you do or the conditions of life, need about 7.5 to 8 hours of sleep. Some of you only need 2, 4, 6, somewhere in that range, and some of you need way more than that. But we haven't found any benefits for more than 10 hours of sleep, and we know that most people do struggle with this. So the struggle is somewhere suboptimally in your sleep patterns. Okay, so 7.5 to 8 hours of sleep is ideal. We want to walk through some strategies to help you sleep well. But maybe first we need to tell the story a little bit more about sleep. The reason we start here is because during the sleep cycle, it's when repair takes place. It's when our body is releasing enzymes and hormones to repair. And we know that if we don't get into the 5th stage of sleep, we're not getting as much of a bang for our buck as we possibly could have. So the way that sleep cycles go is every 90 minutes is a sleep cycle. The first 90 minutes, you get some sort of restoration, that's good, but it's not until the 4th and 5th 90-minute cycle is where we get the really great benefits. So, the first way to think about sleep is if you apply the practices that we're going to show you for 2 or 3 weeks and you still can't fall asleep or stay asleep, we're going to suggest that you go see a physician to get your program right because you might have a sleep disorder. There's a couple types of sleep disorders that we want to make sure that we highlight. One is you can't fall asleep. It's difficult to fall asleep. Another is that you wrestle some kind of way at night and you wake up and can't get back to sleep. And the third is that you wake up too early and can't fall asleep. Those are all different types of sleep disorders. There's also something called sleep apnea. And sleep apnea is when there's a constriction in your airways and it's really difficult to drop into that deep, deep sleep. So if you do these practices that we're about to share with you and you still can't find quality sleep and duration of sleep, then we want to encourage you to go check with a physician. Okay, so let's start. The first order of business is that you might be thinking that you get plenty of enough sleep and you're only getting 7 hours or 6.5 hours. And what we know about this is that our brain does something really amazing, is that it tricks us. It tricks us that where we are is just okay. So there's a recalibration that takes place for those of us who are sleep deprived or sleep restricted. So it's hard to know until you start to get optimal sleep. And then what we found is after about 3 days of those that have sleep restriction or not getting enough sleep over a regular period of time, that as soon as they get 3 days of sleep, they forget what fatigue felt like. How many of you are getting, on average, 8 hours of sleep? 7 hours sleep? 6 hours? 5 hours? 4 hours? Yeah, that's good, okay. It used to be something that was cool to put up your hand and say, you know what, look at my results, I'm getting after it, and I'm only doing this on 5 or 6 hours sleep. It used to be a badge of honor. It's not anymore. It's not that at all. We know the importance of sleep is real and we understand it, and so we want to encourage you to not put your hand up to say, I'm a suboptimal human being. Okay, right, I know, isn't that terrible? Yeah, so we want to encourage you to say, listen, I'm competing. I'm getting after it because I want to have fire in the day. I want to have all of the passion I can possibly have. I want to be able to get after it with zeal and zest and pop, or have a sense of peace and not be rattled by the world around me. To do that, we've got to compete to get great sleep in. This is one way that you can show dignity and regard for yourself. It's a one way to show investment in your well-being. Okay, so let's take a look at a couple strategies. 8 hours sleep on a regular basis, we then want to mimic sundown. So our biological clock is designed, it's an ancient brain that we have, and we're trying to operate in modern times. Our ancient brain says, when the sun goes down, I should begin to go down as well. In modern times, we've got electricity, we switch on, and we're alive at 7, 8, 9, 10 o'clock. So if you want to get better sleep, one way is to mimic sundown. So what does that mean? Start to turn off electricity. Start to deactivate your life. That could be both from a technology standpoint, as well as a lighting standpoint, as well as an activity standpoint. So it would be naive to think that I could do exercise and then fall right asleep, or I could have a charged conversation with somebody and then fall right asleep, or I could answer emails that are intense on deadline and then fall right asleep. If that is what you're doing, you're really fatigued. If you're falling asleep while you're emailing or right after you're emailing, your body's really fatigued. Okay, so we want to mimic sundown, slowly start to decelerate and deactivate our environment and our internal conditioning. Okay, that's the first. The second is we want to create a cave-like room. And a cave-like room is pretty simple, like make it dark. If you can see your hand a foot away from you, it's not dark enough. Our brain really likes dark. We also want to create the temperature that's ideal. So an ideal temperature is somewhere around 68 degrees. Okay, so it's cold, it's dark, and that's so you can create this space for your body and brain to go, I'm all right. This is an okay place to rest. And so you get into that deep sleep. Okay, so those are the first two. And then the last is to create a pre-sleep routine. And a pre-sleep routine is really a process that you take yourself through to begin to switch off, to begin to taper down, such as maybe it's a bath. Warm baths and warm water have been around for a long time as a way to relax. So maybe it's a bath, maybe it's a shower, maybe it's something that you do to start relaxing. Maybe it's mindfulness training. Maybe it's some sort of breathing training, right? So begin a pre-sleep routine, and that just means that there's 1, 2, 3, maybe 4 things that you do to prepare yourself to fall asleep. Now, here's another thing that we want you to pay attention to, is that we want you to pair your bed and your pillow with deep rest. So if you're answering emails in your bed, you're pairing it with activation. So pair your bed with deep sleep. Okay, so if you're gonna read, or you're gonna do emails, or you're gonna do something late at night, you've gotta be able to do that outside of your room. Okay, we wanna pair the bed and the pillow with deep sleep. The second thing we wanna pay attention to is that blue light is a real deal. So blue light, naturally comes up on sunrise. So when we're taking a look at these conditions, mimicking sundown, creating a cave-like room, and a pre-sleep routine, if you're engaging with blue light on your devices, on TV, and it's emanating from those sources, you're turning on a part of your brain to say, don't release melatonin. And melatonin is that chemical inside of us that allows us to start to feel sleepy and tired. So as soon as blue light comes on, just like sunrise, remember the ancient part of our brain, just like sunrise, we look at this thing and we're stimulated because it's engaging. That's one problem or challenge. And the second is that actually your brain is saying, it's not time to go to bed. You got to be up. And then research is somewhere around 20 to 40 minutes to get rid of that experience so that you can start to produce melatonin naturally. So there's a real challenge with blue light and trying to fall asleep. So follow these, invest in yourself. If you can't get your sleep right in 2 to 3 weeks, go consult with a physician, but this is an incredible way to invest in yourself so that you can live that life that you're looking to create. The best version of you. You can wake up day in and day out and have that inner fire, that inner peace, exactly the way that you want to design your life.